And we're back with Isabel Varela. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing for the opportunity?
Well, thank you for joining us. And you are here in New York with me, obviously, but you're originally from Louisiana.
That's correct.
Well, I lived in Texas, so we were neighbors.
We sure were.
And Isabel, you created Isabel.
Correct.
And that is a clothing line you're going to tell us about.
Yes, correct. My line is called Isabel Varela, and the main focus of the clothing line is to empower women and to also let them know how not only are they wearing cleaner clothes, but they're also being able to empower others to live a cleaner health lifestyle. So the line it's all women's wear contemporary, and I feature suits and dresses in separates. And on the website, you can actually either shop from the products, or you can also consult with myself or another stylist, and you can create a custom piece. Any piece that you may choose, let's say a pair of pants, will be custom fit to you, or we start from a whole new custom project, the wardrobe.
Very cool. That's very unique. I love that.
Thank you.
Now, something that's unique about your line is your clothing is organic.
Correct. Why it is organic, and it's because I live a minimalist lifestyle. It was a reflection of how I was feeling inside, so I wanted to bring it out in the forefront of fashion. So I wanted to focus on organic, because it's clean and it's healthy. So it's not only helpful for us, but it's also helpful for the environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of that, I think that's something, and actually you mentioned this before we were talking a little bit earlier. That's a fact that people may not know, that the fashion industry is one of the dirtiest industries after the petroleum industry, which is a horrifying thought.
It's scary, it's upsetting, and it's appalling to just see how it is affecting the environment and humanity as a whole.
Absolutely.
And there's not enough awareness of what's going on, and I feel that if there was, and that's the other reason why I want to do this and why pushing the brand, more people will realize how important it is to be focused on organic, sustainable. Right. It's like living with the environment.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize, the start to finish process of making a garment. And, that gets into, like you said, it not being clean. So you take, for instance, a pair of blue jeans that cotton is growing up in Texas, cotton is a plant that's full of bugs. You got lots of spiders, lots of critters. So in order to make a pair of jeans, you need like 6 pounds of pesticides for one pair of jeans. Now, that you're wearing that's touching your skin.
Correct, yes.
And then, you could say, well, you'll wash it. Well, okay, then it's going to get into the water. And these are pesticides.
It starts getting into the other clothing, and and then it goes into, that water goes into the sewage system,
Absolutely. And then start to finish, okay, you got your pants made, but then you talk about the dyes, more chemicals, and more chemicals going into more, and then also the water that is going into at the plant where it's being made or where it's being dyed.
Yes.
And that was another, again, it's just little things we're not aware of, the amount of water it takes to dye these products, to dye these fabrics. And, we have alternatives like hemp, for instance, which is naturally organic, so it doesn't require the use of pesticides or herbicides or anything. And it also absorbs dye better than cotton does. So you actually could have a garment that doesn't require all these poisons and dyes and stuff.
Yeah, then that's something too, like any of the dyes because I do custom prints, and I design the own prints for the line. There's different companies, there's 2 of them, one in Louisiana and one in North Carolina, that is eco-friendly dyes. It's natural dyes, and it's actually, those are companies I use because it's non-toxic.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad you mentioned that because, well, first of all, they're also made in America. We'll talk a little bit about the loss of jobs and the human cost, but that kind of gets back to history. North Carolina, that was why it became a colony. Initially was because they grew indigo, which was used for dyeing things blue, like blue jeans.
Yes.
Well, blue jeans didn't exist at the time. They came about in the 1840s, but it was to make blue dye. That's where they grew it, was North Carolina. And in North Carolina, we live in New York City, which is kind of the American hub of fashion. It's like our Milan or our, London. But we used to have a tremendous textile industry in the United States. in North Carolina specifically, they had a lot of textile mills which are disappearing.
Very, very small. Not as many as they used to be.
Absolutely, and here in New York, I mean, this was the hub of fashion, and they, at one point, the United States was the leader in clothing production, and I believe they said now we've gone from producing 96% of the world's clothing to 2%. But along with that means a tremendous loss of jobs. Tremendous loss of jobs.
And that's another reason. It's like, make people aware, bring it back, focus on producing it locally. And the line here, Isabel Varela, it's produced locally in New York. Want to create jobs here, and it helps everyone as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I recently heard, and this was a couple of days ago, I read this absolutely horrifying report that, a lot of our garment industry has been exported to countries like Vietnam or Bangladesh, where the standards are lax, and we're not really sure if they're being enforced, if there are any. And so it's pretty routine to hear stories of children working in factories, and then, Bangladesh unfortunately has a terrible record of accidents and deaths.
The factory burning and everything.
And the sad thing is, these are issues that America dealt with, because here in New York, of course, remember the waist shirt.
Yeah, I was going to say that happened.
Triangle factory fire. And again, when you think about like the human greed involved here, because the entire reason that there were so many deaths in that fire was because the workers had been locked in the building to keep them from how dare you take a lunch break? No, we're going to lock you in. And that's exactly what happened. They weren't able to get out. But now that's exactly what has been happening in a lot of these factories in Bangladesh. It's the same story. These workers are locked in. They can't get out and just working under really terrible conditions. And so apparently, and we also spoke about the outsourcing of outsourcing, that it's almost impossible to know where your clothing is made. Because
it's so many different, to cut the cost, a pocket will be sewn in one country, the closure will be sewn in another one, they'll be sent together in completely finished garment, and then it cuts the cost for them, but it's just so many pieces. It just affects not only who's working on the garment, how the garment made, how the fit of the garment's going to be. It's just as a whole.
Oh, that's actually true, the fit. Because you'll buy something that's one brand and say it's size 8, size 10. And then you buy another brand and you're like, wait a second, I didn't change size, but
there's not every brand has different sizing, but there's actually there's a web page that says if you're this size, then you'll be this size in this brand, because it's not consistent across all boards.
Absolutely. So it's just, so you get all this stuff that's kind of made piecemeal, but it also gets rid of liability for the parent companies. If you're the Gap and you're ordering a bunch of blue jeans, you can actually say, well, I didn't know that these workers were working in these conditions, because maybe you didn't, because whoever you outsourced to may have outsourced it to 5 different other factories in other countries, and so there's no chain of accountability there. And so apparently a group of workers in Bangladesh got together to demand a pay raise to 67 cents per day. I mean, this is like heartbreaking. And the larger factories, I guess, then complained that was too much money, so they've now outsourced that to Ethiopia, where people are getting paid 8 cents a day.
It's really disheartening, and that's another big focus of the company, is its transparency. We know where the garment's being made, we know who's doing it, where it's coming from, what fabrics, how to wash it. It's the transparency, and it helps others to realize what is in the garment.
Right.
And then it makes them aware, and then, which hopefully can cause an impact for them to realize, oh, well, I don't know if they have another brand. Let's say one piece is they buy custom made for us, but then they see like, oh, okay, I know where all these pieces are coming from, but they have another brand. It's like, well, where are these pieces coming from?
Right.
So it's like just trying to make them aware. Where are you buying? Where is everything being made?
Absolutely. Because it just really speaks to the lack of conscience in the general fashion industry that you have these billionaires that own these stores, whether it's Walmart or H&M, people who have billions of dollars, and then you're complaining about having to pay a worker 8 cents. Yeah.
I feel there's a better way.
So now you were telling me earlier about a really cool experiment.
Yes, so it's through a company called Fashion Revolution. So what they did is they put a vending machine with $2 white t-shirts. But before you could buy it, you had to actually watch a video. So it was really interesting to see because the people watching the video, you can see their reactions, and what they're seeing is how the shirt's being made, how much it's costing, how the workers are being exploited. And then every single you could just see their faces were just in awe and shock. When one girl started crying, and then some of them were even looking at their clothes like, oh my God, realizes like, is that what I'm wearing too?
Right.
And then at the end of the video, it's like 2 to 3 minutes, you can actually either choose, do you still want to buy this? Or you can donate. And every single person ended up donating. So that's also the biggest point is if people were more aware,
right,
then they have the choice. Everyone has free will.
Right.
But knowing that you have a better choice of doing something.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that will inspire others to like, oh my God, I just saw this, and just starts a viral of how to do things better and choosing things better.
Absolutely. And choosing things better based on the quality, and like you said, the process of how it's made, the quality. Because unfortunately, I think we've been brainwashed into thinking about brands, and that's really how we think. Oh, I need this brand of this and this brand of that. And unfortunately, we tend to equate that with quality. Oh, if I buy a $50 bra made by this designer label, it must be good. Or if I buy this label, that says made in USA, it must be made in USA. And I'm like, but you actually don't know that. And you actually don't know that the quality is this $50 bra, is it really worth $50? If you think about the material, what they actually paid their labor, first of all, you realize how you're getting ripped off. You are really getting ripped off. You said, when you consider the cost of the labor and the fabric, maybe it actually only costs $0.25 to make. So I'm like, wow, they're ripping me off. Or I bought this product because it says made in USA, but is it really? And then you start looking into the company and where is it that they're actually making their products. Or, and then you think about, then you get into like legal issues, like can they call it made in USA if the label's made in USA, or it was printed in USA but the garment itself was made somewhere else. And we need to find out about that. Where is my stuff actually being made?
Yes, the transparency of the manufacturing, what's going on. Like, if it's not bad or if it's here, then why can't we know about it? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that's like the GMO argument as well. Which, by the way, and we were actually talking about India and the effect of GMO cotton. So which luckily in one Indian state was outlawed because it had such a terrible effect on the farmers there that they were basically kind of conned into buying this BT cotton, which is made by Monsanto, and they weren't told that it required a lot of water, a lot of extra water to grow this crop, and a lot of them just went into bankruptcy when their crops failed, and which then resulted in a wave of suicides. It was something like 10 a day. About 250,000 people committed suicide in this state. And finally in 2012, this one state in India outlawed it and said, okay, we don't want the GMO cotton. Unfortunately, it's still allowed in other states. But we think about the GMO products we eat, but what about the ones we wear? We don't think about that.
Yes. That's the other reason, too, is to look for the sustainable products. We are what we eat, and then that's why there is that big push for organic and healthy, because it is a lifestyle, but it's a movement that we should follow because it helps us to feel better. And then also with the clothing, we are putting it against their skin.
Right.
So
right.
We're breathing it. It's touching our skin all day. It's getting washed. It's going back. So you have a choice to get something healthier for you.
And the GMO cotton, what it is, it's Roundup Ready cotton. It's cotton that the poison to kill the pesticide is in the plant. So therefore, the plant itself is poisonous now. And like you said, now you're wearing this. And, you know, a lot of countries, like in Europe, have banned GMO foods, but I don't think anybody ever thinks about GMO clothes.
Exactly.
And, you know, and right now here in the U.S., I know there's been a tremendous push. So far, only Vermont and Maine have been successful in getting GMO labeling. But again, that's for food. I don't know.
What happened to clothing?
Nobody thinks about stuff touching your skin. That's GMO, and it's touching you, and it's made with poisons.
Yes, so that's why we want to focus on natural, organic, and sustainable clothing.
Absolutely.
And moving into lifestyle as well.
Absolutely. Especially with cotton, you think about it's usually they push cotton baby blankets.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, I'd like to know that the baby blanket that I'm wrapping an infant in isn't made with Roundup, you know, which has now been proven to be a carcinogen. And I'm like, so you're going to wrap a little tiny baby in this poisonous material? That's terrifying.
So the more we can make others aware, then people have choices.
Absolutely. You actually mentioned a couple of films that we're actually going to be posting on our Facebook page.
Yes.
And that
the movie called True Cost. I just going to say, please watch it because you'll understand what we're talking about, what's going on in the environment, and there's a better way of choosing.
Right.
But you always have a choice.
Absolutely. You'd also mentioned something about, and then you talk about fast fashion, and you now have created a culture where young women in particular, I mean, because men's fashion doesn't change as often, styles don't change as frequently, but it's created this culture where people think, oh, I need to buy, continual buying, you know. Well, I can't wear that. That was last week, you know. No, they can't be seen in this. And so it's created this culture of consumerism, but then what happens to that stuff? You know, when you can't wear last week's jeans or last week's skirt or whatever.
All that is being sent off to other countries, and they're being filled with the stuff that we are donating. And then the focus that we want to try to bring is investing in pieces because they'll last. And then the other special part of it is too the tailoring, which is really important too, and that's something I also include in the brand as well, because there's a misconception is like well, the dress, I don't look like the model in the dress, and I will always say stop right there. You don't have to look like the models. Like, the reason that tailoring exists is it's making the clothes fit to you.
Right.
Once that happens, then it's empowering them to feel good in their own skin and what they're wearing. It's like you don't have to look like the model. It's beautiful just the way you are, and look how the dress fits now with the little hem and a little taken on the side. That's it.
I think, gosh, you know, particularly in Western countries, you know, this stigma that young girls have, and they see the shows in Paris and in Milan. And one thing they don't understand, and, you know, I've attended enough of fashion shows to understand, there's a reason why they get these models that look the way they do, because it's to show off the garment, not the model, you know? I mean, if you want the curvaceous model, she's on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. But the models that they pick who are very thin and very tall, it's because you're supposed to be looking at the garments. And who's going to these shows but buyers, not the general public.
Exactly.
And so people don't realize that, you know, and but also, like you said, and it really saddens me that, you know, we've taken out, you know, when you talk about the importance of tailoring, we've taken out home ec from schools. So people don't learn to sew anymore.
No, that's a lost art.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was in school, they offered home ec as a class, and, you know, I guess people don't realize the importance of it. But, you know, like you said, tailoring stuff to make you look nice and to fit you. I think a lot of young people don't think about that. So they'll go to the... No. I see people walking down the street, and I know they bought this item because it's on the cover of, I don't know, People magazine or whatever. Oh, I gotta have this because this celebrity's wearing it. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't look... And it's because somebody needs to tell them, you know, you have this type of body, you wear this type of... Because there are different, like the A-line dresses and so forth, that different looks for different people, you know.
No body is the same.
Right, exactly. And it's, you know, you got to kind of, I guess we got to focus on re-educating people about things.
They do, because every dress will fit differently on different body types. I mean, I understand it, but being a Latina, I have curves too. It's like I know what I need to do, where I need to take in the waist, and,
right?
And just that's the tailoring helps that
Absolutely,
and it fits to you.
And kind of like right now it's swimsuit season, and that's the big thing with swimsuits is everybody there's a swimsuit out there for everyone, but you gotta this might look better on this person. This one's got a like the ribbed waist that kind of forms the illusion of a waist if you don't have a tiny waist, or this is a high leg, whatever, kind of make it work for you. But people need to be told that. And unfortunately, again, when you have this kind of fast fashion, you walk into a store, dress is $4.99, you're not getting trained people in the store either to help you. Because these are low-paying jobs. And a lot of people are put under tremendous stress just to sell. Mm-hmm. Because
to make the money.
To make the money, and they do put quotas on the employees. You have to sell. And this was something, I worked in retail many years ago, so I'm sure the numbers have changed, but I worked at a little tiny ladies' boutique store in Houston many, many years ago when I was in high school. And the store had to make $1,000 a day, so I'm sure the numbers are much higher now, and H&M's are gigantic, and Forever 21s are gigantic, so I'm sure they're so that meant they had a breakdown of what every employee in the store had to sell, and it was like an hourly. You have to sell $200 an hour, whatever. So that's going to result in the employee pressuring people to buy stuff, whether or not it actually looks good on them. Yeah.
And that, I think, it's just re-educating and making people aware. It's like, hold on, let's look at what your fit is, what your body shape is, and then we can work from there.
Because what happens if somebody goes hog wild buying all this stuff and then they don't wear it? Where does this end up?
That is where it ends up in the other third world countries, and it's pretty much filling up their land with more garment ways. Where is that going to go? Cause
right.
It's just a consistent. It's damaging their environment.
Because the cheaper fabrics, a lot of your spandex and nylon.
Yeah, what it takes, I believe, more over 100 years for it to disintegrate.
Right.
I mean, it's just, and there's these places where they have these landfills of all the fabrics and.
Because what are they? It's petroleum. These are all petroleum-based fabrics. So yeah, it
just sits there.
and there was another. Kind of ramification. And it's kind of sad because I think when we donate clothes, we're doing it, especially let's send a barrel of clothes to Africa or Haiti, and people do it with good intentions. I want to help these people there, but there was another consequence of doing this that I hadn't thought about at all, and that was
So what's happening is some of the places, let's for instance Haiti, it's filling up because their jobs there is also to make clothing, but now that they're getting so much of the clothes that is donated, because I believe it's about 10% of the things that we donate actually gets into the stores, the rest is shipped out. So they're losing their jobs, and there's not jobs anymore because now there's so much clothes that they have to. They could choose there,
right,
instead of building jobs there for them to make the clothes.
Right, right, absolutely.
So it's just
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
And you mentioned the retraining of people to think of a garment as an investment.
Yes. So I definitely think it's very important to understand that instead of just constantly going and buying and every week something new, taking it and seeing it as the amount of money that you may be spending on less expensive pieces could actually equal up to a really good investment piece, and then that will last longer, and it's custom fit to you. And that's what we're trying to focus on, is go into those investment pieces, it'll be custom fit to you. So
for instance, now your line is more geared towards working women and professional women.
Professional.
So, for instance, what might be a good investment piece?
A good investment piece is a black suit. Black suit with a nice tailored jacket, 2 buttons, and a side vent with a pencil skirt.
Absolutely.
And then those are 2 pieces that you could interchange a black jacket with the button down and jeans one day. You have your skirt and a loose fitting top. It's just, you can do so much.
Absolutely.
And it's educating, and we'll be able to educate the client and let them know this can go with your wardrobe right now.
Right. You know, and we actually mentioned comparing that to menswear.
Yes.
And men don't have this pressure to go out and buy a new wardrobe every season, because if you think about what most men wear casually, I guess you got your jeans, your khaki, your chinos, actually, because khaki is the color, you know, different polo shirts or whatever, polo style shirts, I should say. But for the office, it's brown, navy blue, black.
Yeah.
and I tend to wear a lot of black, actually, for a number of reasons. It does tend to hide your imperfections, and I do tend to like spill things on myself all the time, so it's a little forgiving. But with the men, yeah, what do they really change? Like the tie. It's
just the tie, the pocket square, and the button down. And that's too, women should be able to not have to feel that pressure to have to consistently, but it's like, I mean, they can wear that same jacket 3 different ways in 1 week.
Yeah,
and same in the skirt, the same thing. Just like the man can wear the same suit 3 times in a week, but they just change the button down, the shoes, you know, the accessories.
I didn't. This was again years ago when, you know, and I worked at a retail store, and this was many years ago when women tended to wear pantyhose, and really was because you had to. Because when I worked at an office, we were told you couldn't come in with bare legs, so you had to wear pantyhose. And Casual Friday kind of changed that, because it kind of changed the way we dress things to Casual Fridays. But at that time, they said the average woman was spending something like $700 a year on pantyhose. And they totally don't last. I mean, you put your finger through there, you gotta run. Oh, yeah. So if you think about that, and now, you know, like we're talking about with the fast fashion, things changing all the time. Yeah, you might be buying a dress for $4.99 at, you know, at one of these stores that kind of promote that. But when you think about the total cost that you're spending.
Yes.
And, you know, that kind of blew me away when I learned that $700 a year on pantyhose. And, you know, again, this was years ago. And I thought, I have much better uses for $700. But even now, it's like you know, the problem is with these garments that are very inexpensive, you know, the $4.99 dress or whatever, is they're inexpensive for a reason. And it's either, well, actually, probably both. The materials are pretty cheap.
Yes.
And the
labor is cheap.
The labor is cheap, which means you're not getting a garment that's made well. You know, it's poorly stitched together. It's pretty much designed to self-destruct the first time you wash it, you know.
And that's what's sad, because it comes at a human cost and an environmental cost. It just starts to affect everything.
Absolutely. And so again, you know, like you were saying, well, if you get an investment piece, and you're going to spend more money on it, but it's something that will last you. It will last.
And it fits to you.
Right, right.
It's custom, yeah.
But, and you also mentioned, you know, if you get a piece that fashion will change. I mean, that's the nature of it. But you can alter it.
Correct. If you need, it's the different staples in your closet. You can just change it, take the sleeves off of something. And that's another service we'll offer too. It's like any current pieces in your wardrobe too. We can help to change that. It's like maybe you'll be interested in a custom piece here. It's like, oh, well, I really like this top. It's like, okay, well, we can shorten it.
Right.
We can take the sleeves off. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll use an example of the 1980s Dynasty look with the giant shoulder pads. So let's just cut them out. You know, that's no big deal.
You know, lower the shoulders. That's no problem. New jacket.
And the same thing also, I guess, if, you know, because also we don't always stay the same size, but you can let out a pinch an inch here, and as you kind of gain or lose weight, and you can adjust the garment as well.
And then that's something too. Whenever it's allowing extra allowance in the fabric, so you can actually go in and out of the fabric. Oh. It's like more in the seam. It's like more in the seam allowance, so you can actually allow for that room for someone whenever they're trying on. That's a tailoring technique.
Wonderful. And yeah, I think it's just helping people be mindful of the industry and, you know, how it's affecting, like you said, the environment, human lives. You know, I personally would like to know that 10-year-old didn't make my clothing, you know. But also that in being willing to spend a little bit more money to buy a garment that's made in the United States or in a developed nation where you know people are getting a fair wage, you know, you're also creating jobs there. And hopefully, you know, not that I in any way begrudge people in developing nations a job, but hopefully they'll be able to demand better conditions in their own country and create their own industries, you know, so basically not be exploited by these big chains.
There is a better way of doing that. It's
Absolutely.
Having that focus of what you want for, like, I know we want to focus on, you know, keeping things locally and growing here as a community.
Right.
If one company can do it, anyone else can.
Right, absolutely. Well, let me ask you, first of all, you have an event coming up.
Yes, we do. Very exciting. We'll be showing at New York Fashion Week on September 17th.
Excellent. And where's that going to be?
It's going to be here in the Chelsea area. It's at Holy Apostles Ballroom. It's a really great venue. So we'll be there showcasing some of our new pieces.
And this will be an event open to the public.
Correct.
Excellent. And how can people find out about that and see your work?
They can actually they actually follow us on Instagram, Isabel Varela, at Isabel Varela. And also follow us on our new website we'll be launching next week, which we're really excited.
Yay!
And we'll have all the information and details of what's going on, what's coming next.
And as you mentioned, if people would like to make their own, kind of custom design their own piece,
yes,
they'll be able to do that through the website.
Yes, definitely. You can just contact us there. You speak with me directly, another one of our stylists, and then we can help you with a whole new custom project.
Or you can help them update clothing they already have.
Update their wardrobe, and then I'll have different products that you can actually shop from, and we can make it to you.
Excellent. And give us the, because you're also on Facebook and all the social media.
So Instagram and Twitter are the same. So it's Isabel Varela, and that's IZAVELVARELA. And then the website is isabelvarela.com. And then Facebook, Isabel.
That's very easy, Isabel.
All across board.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.